Good afternoon or good evening, everybody, or indeed good morning if you're on the other side. Whoops, hang on, I need to just cut my sound monitor. Sorry if you heard me twice then. Thanks for joining today's webinar with my very special guest, Poochie Collins, which we'll go and find in a second. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, then please, if you would like to ask a question, and I hope you do, then please put that into the chat, because myself or Diego, who's also hanging around, will pick that up and we'll do our best to get to your questions as well. If you're in our webinar room, then you'll see the Q&A tab. So if you'd like to ask a question, then try to keep your questions into that tab. It just keeps them out of the main chat window and a bit easier for myself or Diego to find as well. So today we're going to chat with Poochie Collins, who's a photographer based out of the USA. So through the power of the internet, let's hope we can find Poochie. Hey Poochie, how are you doing?
Hi,
How are
how
you
are you?
today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Very well, thanks. Very well. So what we're going to do today is it's just a nice casual chat. Normally in these webinars, quite often we do a bit of editing in Capture One, but today is just more of like a live podcast, if you like, where we're going to talk about some of your work, what inspires you, how you get your clients, you know, some practical things like that, and also have the chance to look at some of your work as well. So I'm going to switch to the start of your portfolio, and this is actually you, isn't it, in this particular shot?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is
was
a photo of me.
was this a accidental campaign? I can't remember. Was this one of
No,
the target
so
shots?
no, this is actually a photo taken with a dear friend of mine.
Hmm.
His name is Noah Billy. We were actually just at a garden here in New York, and that was a picture that was captured. So
Very
just
nice.
having fun.
He did a good job. So, getting ahead of myself slightly. So, currently you're based out of Brooklyn, but you're from Richmond, Virginia. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Nice. And you haven't been a photographer for, if you like, your entire professional career. This is relatively new to you, or what year did you start in photography?
Yes, so full-time photography as a career has been fairly new. I've been shooting photography since 2004, just as a hobby, but I transitioned for doing that full-time um, from the financial institution area. So,
You broke free from the finances.
yes.
And how did you get into photography? Because coming from working in finance to photography is quite a big shift. From
Yeah.
you know the backstory that I read about you and the chats that you've had with my colleagues, you know this wasn't really a planned career move, I guess.
No, originally I wanted to be a medical examiner.
Medical
Um,
exam, yeah, medical examiner, yeah.
yes. Um, Change of plans, life happened, and I ended up working in financial institution, but my grandfather actually introduced photography to me. Um, he was the person that gave me my first camera back in 2004. Um, and like I said, it was more so of just a hobby. I used to take pictures of friends throughout my school, and it was just something that I would do on the side. And so as time just progressed, I went from doing nature and landscaping to street photography and then portraiture in the recent years. Um, yeah, it was just a natural progression. When I first started with doing the photography, I used to use my pictures to make cards for friends and family. So it was really like just something that was fun to do and that I would do in my spare time. And I was not along the years to like take it more seriously make a career out of it. So here we are.
Very nice. Couple of people saying you're a little bit hard to hear, so I've just turned my
The
volume
volume up.
down. Yeah, my volume down slightly,
Okay.
so that I'm not bursting people's eardrums, and then they can turn up their volume a little bit as well. So hopefully that has helped everybody. So if you can, I know you have this wonderful softly spoken voice, but if you can do your best to talk a bit louder for us, then that's going to help as well. Um,
Okay.
so I know that's a big ask, but there we go. So I've maxed out your volume, so hopefully that will help a bit as well. So how would you describe the kind of work that you're doing as well? So we talked about this. The title of this webinar is like portraiture,
Hmm.
but portraiture was something that you felt that uh, you didn't want to do. Is that right? Sort of reading your backstory as well.
Yes. Um, so you're asking like how do I get into portraiture,
Portraiture,
right?
yeah, because from what I understood, like I don't want to take pictures of people, but now here we
Yeah.
are doing a presentation on portraiture. So
So a friend of mine who is also a mentor, when I reached out to him, I was like, I want to get into doing photography more seriously, but I don't really know where to start. And so, in the midst of our exchanges, he would encourage me, like, hey, I think you should do portraits of people. You take really great photographs, your composition is great. Like, why don't you take pictures of people? And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to interact. I stay pretty low key to myself. So I was just like, having to like tell people what to do stuff. I don't really know if I can do that. And he's like, I really think you should consider. This image that is actually on screen is my first shoot that I did of portraiture. My friend Zamaria here, she reached out to me and said, hey, I want you to take my pictures. And I feel like you're the only person that can do what I want. And so we shot these photographs. I had no idea what I was doing. And they came out great. I surprised myself actually. Like I literally didn't know how to dial in any like settings or anything. I was just shooting blind.
and
So
so when was this? Was this back? I can't remember what year
um,
you said you started.
I believe this was around between 2015, 2017.
Okay.
Not exactly sure. It was some time ago. Um, so yeah, this was actually my first official portrait shoot. Before that, I would just like take pictures of people out and about, just observing from afar, because I'm like, I don't have to position anyone or anything like that. So yeah.
And how do you feel now? Is this a skill that you've kind of improved on, like the interaction, or are you still kind of taking a step back almost and just photographing people from afar? I mean, looking at these shots, I assume there's a lot more interaction than you probably expected you were going to be doing when you first started this.
Yes. So from then until now, my shooting has become quite more intimate. As you can see, like you said,
Hmm.
gets closer and closer to the subject. Um, just over time, I've gotten more comfortable with interacting with my subjects. Most of them are my friends, so it's a little bit easier when it's, someone you know. Um, but yeah, it's gotten easier with practice.
Good. So regarding your photography, who are your clients now these days? And what typically, does a professional shoot entail for you?
Um, well, it depends. So I have worked with, basically right now I'm doing commercial photography.
Hmm.
And so my clients can range from financial institutions to retail companies, and so forth.
Hmm.
And as far as like the type of work, it's just basically me being able to create what I love, and what they are asking for. A lot of them have very like specific, um, you know, projects that they want to work on. So that's pretty much what I do,
Hmm.
according to whatever they want.
A question here from, and I'm going to make a bad job of saying this gentleman's name, but I'm going to try. So, Presmslaw, there, and
Hmm.
I do apologise, Polish name, and that's probably a terrible pronunciation. But his question was, how much do you interfere with photos in post production? And I think this is a great question actually, because also when you and I have spoken in the past, you're quite, I think, specific or resolute at trying to do as much in camera as possible.
Yeah. So a lot of my photos, unless it is um, on purpose to be like stylized, a lot of my photos I try to not do much with in post. So it could be anything from just making sure that the coloring is correct. So however I see it in person, I try to match the color as accurately as possible. So not too much editing.
Hmm. Do you send your editing out to anyone else, or are you taking control of the whole process?
It depends. I've had projects where I've done editing myself. I've had stuff where the agency or the client will want to edit it on their own. And then I've also have hired editors for my work. So it just depends on how big the project is.
For sure. So, how are you getting your clients at the moment? Like, what's your process for marketing or advertising yourself, or do you have enough regular people coming your way?
Um, as far as me getting work, a lot of my opportunities have came from word of mouth. So I've been very fortunate and grateful for that. Um, I do have a few in agencies that I work with quite often. So it's just like repeat relationships that I have for certain jobs. But most of it is just from word of mouth. I have a website and social media, and sometimes people find me on that. Um,
Well,
but
I
yeah,
think getting word of mouth is the best way to do it, really, isn't it? So
yeah.
if you don't have to spend the advertising money and the work's coming to you, then that can only be a benefit. Um, okay, so we discovered you actually via a community called Black Women Photographers. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what the organisation is and how it's helped you as well?
Yes.
Mm.
So Black Women's Photography Group. I was contacted by the CEO and founder, Polly,
Polly, yep.
and um, essentially it is an organization um, to house all Black women photographers all over the world and provides resources, jobs, and a great community for us to interact with each other and share our work. And it also is like a Rolodex for other companies and agencies to contact us for work as well.
So do they serve as almost like a creative agency that can commission you for working as well? So on photography projects?
Um, I mean, we definitely are able to because it is so many photographers all over the place. They usually will just be like, "Hey, I saw this somewhere on the internet, somewhere, or I heard about this job." Um, Polly, of course, provides us with um, different opportunities or connections with people like yourself.
Yep.
Um, so it's just been very helpful. I've been able to, get information in regards to how to look for certain jobs or, what if I was to apply for grants or anything like that, a plethora of information and support.
Great. There was a photo here that I wanted to find. Maybe I'd skip past it all already. Oh yeah, this one I found quite interesting because it wasn't a portrait. But do I recognise your apartment in the background as well? Yeah.
Yes. So alongside with the portraiture, I also do portrait series of myself. So this was
Yep.
part of a self-portrait series that I did for a class that I did over the summer. So yes, that is me and some of my
And
plants.
some of your plant babies, yeah, in the Where's Wally
Yeah.
blanket, yeah. And what was the other picture that I was looking for as well? Again, I might have skipped past it, but I wanted to ask you. Yeah, this gentleman as well. I found this was quite a striking series. What's the story behind him?
So this picture was part of a I was assisting actually one of my friends for a shoot, and this was one of the like behind the scenes photos that I took.
Okay,
Um, we were at an event, so this was like a open studio session for Paper Monday. And I was helping, assisting, and also taking photographs. So this was one of the images that I snapped like on the side of the pictures. Like my friend Raj is in the front where the gentleman is looking. And so I was on the side and I was like, oh, this looks really cool. And I took the picture. So there's like a whole, you can't really see it because it's dark, but we
yeah.
were in like an event space and the backdrop is actually brown. But because the spotlight was like hitting on his face how it is, it looks everything looks completely black.
Yeah, no, it looks awesome, and just goes to show that you know. I think, as you said earlier, like you didn't actually have to interact with him. That was capturing that specific moment in time as well.
Yeah.
So well spotted. And yeah, I've seen like some of the family portraits that we've also seen as well. Is that like private clients who just want shots of themselves and their kids or whatever, or was that also part of a
No,
campaign?
so that picture that you just scrolled by, that's actually Raj in B Paper Monday. So that's who I was assisting with the other picture that you were asking me about. Um, but this was just test shots that we were doing in the studio for fun. They weren't anything specific. It's just testing out the lighting.
Yeah, it's come out great. And what
Yeah.
about this one here?
This was another assistant job that I did with them for an award ceremony. So yeah, the shots where you see that are kind of like blacked out in the background, it's like studio setting. Um, but yeah, we were in a room taking pictures, and I just snapped this one of Zadie Smith.
Do you prefer working in the studio or outside?
Well, majority of my work is done in natural settings, so I don't often frequent the studio. Most of my work is natural lighting, so it's either like inside someone's home or outdoors somewhere.
Another question from the same gentleman who asked a question earlier. I won't embarrass myself by getting his name wrong again, so I do apologise. Said, what's most important to you in a portrait? I think that's a really good question.
What's most important to me?
Mm,
I think just documenting people as they are. Um, I don't really try to direct people too much.
okay.
So I generally just try to find the essence of that person and document them as they are. So I think that's what's important to me most is just showing them their reflection.
Absolutely. I was just looking for, so it's one of the early pictures that we looked at, which was in the studio. So,
Mm.
what was this shoot about? Because I actually really like the picture that's on the right hand side on the C stand, um, which is looks like one of those kind of behind the scenes shots, but it actually works great as a produced portrait.
So this was actually a birthday shoot. The woman in the shots were taking photos for her birthday. And she's also a dancer, so she wanted to dress the part. And the C stand, we actually used it as a prop since we didn't have any like actual stands like how they use in the studios for dancing. So we used that as a prop to take the photograph on.
Nice. Got a great question here from Erie and then one from John. From planning to the finished product, what part of the process is the most challenging? What stage or part is the most enjoyable? So within a shoot, what's the most challenging? What part is the most enjoyable?
The most challenging about a shoot, I think, is actually just getting started.
Right. Yeah.
Just preparing and making sure that I have everything together. I think is probably what is takes most of is most stressful for me. And what was the last part of that question?
The most enjoyable part.
Um, Everything. Like even though I'm stressed out about trying to make sure everything is properly put together, I think um, there's a sense of excitement just with being able to create something different and being able to see a different perspective. So the whole process and being able to create, I think is I just enjoy everything about it.
That's pretty good. Love what you do, as they say.
Yeah.
John is asking, you seem somewhat a shy person and you didn't initially want to photograph people, but your pictures indicate you create a good rapport with your subjects. Yep, I'd agree that. How did you manage to overcome your initial reluctance to photograph people, which you do so well?
Um, it is a work in progress. I am introverted for
Mm,
sure. But I think what makes it easy is just doing it anyway. Like I'm always like, oh no, I have to interact with people, but I do it anyway. I'm uncomfortable, but I push myself. And like I said, it does make it helpful that a lot of the subjects that I work with are people that I know.
right.
And the environments that we shoot in is pretty intimate. So when things are in smaller doses, I can handle it.
Hmm.
Um, but being pushed by my friends, because if it hadn't it been for Zamaria, I probably would have waited some more time before I got to shooting portraits. Um, I'm quite fine with taking portraits of myself because I don't have to talk to anyone else, but
Sure.
um, being able to just interact with the people and making sure that we're both comfortable before starting, I think helps a lot.
Yeah,
Sorry
definitely.
about the
Well, yeah,
alarm
you're
going
in
off in the
Brooklyn. I mean, we've had the ice cream truck, we have car alarm. I'm sure we get a police siren at some point as well. That's just part of it. Um, yeah, certainly that's the benefit of doing self-portraits, that you don't have to talk to anyone as well. But I've often wondered, like, the commercial application of self-portraits, because I imagine it's not always easy to monetize, a self-portrait. But I guess, can you use those self-portraits for awareness about your photography, or for marketing, or anything like that, or is it more just to kind of develop your style?
um, self-portraits are uh, love letters to myself.
Hmm.
It does allow me to also practice, like you said, my style. And I use those, I do use images when it comes to like writing my treatments, um, and also just to showcase my skill set. So I'll have them on my website and places where I show my work. And yeah, I use them. I have a, they show up in in the meetings and people refer to them for work that I do. So they do help in some sense, even though I don't necessarily make money off of them, like specifically, but
Right.
they do help with me, advertising myself.
Hmm. Another good question. Do you allow people to be as they are? What if you catch them in a negative pose?
A negative pose,
Yeah, like, I guess that the way I would interpret that question is,
or
um,
something that's like unflattering.
yeah, I suppose so. I mean, negative could mean a lot of things, I guess. It could mean
Hmm.
aggressive, it could mean unhappy, it could mean a whole bunch of stuff. So I guess it also depends on, like, how much direction do you give someone. Is it, whenever we think of a portrait photographer, we think of the traditional person saying, smile please, look at the camera, kind of
Yeah.
stuff, which is really not what happens. So I
Hmm.
guess, like, what level of direction are you giving, and then how does that influence your result in choosing the picture? Like, do you go for the one that tells the truth, I guess, or do you go for a picture that's the most flattering? Or, I guess, that's how I interpret that.
Okay. Well, as far as negative, I haven't experienced that per
Hmm.
se. I don't feel like I've had any negative or unflattering um, positions that anyone is. I personally just go for natural body movement.
Hmm.
I'm an observer, so most of the times with my subjects, we are having a conversation
Hmm.
or I have music playing, and so sometimes my subjects are having a moment with the music and maybe they're flowing,
Hmm.
and or we're talking about something and they naturally just like place their hand or something, and I say, hold that there please.
That looks good. Yeah.
So I don't necessarily like do too much directing. It's pretty minimal.
Hmm.
And if I see something that I think is beautiful, then I will just tell them to pause and I'll take a few shots and I'll be like, okay. And we'll just keep talking and flowing. And yeah, I feel like when I start to direct people too much, it
Hmm.
becomes awkward.
Right.
More so for me, but also it feels too much, too staged. So I just kind of let people exist in their natural element, and I
Hmm.
just take the
Take the
picture.
pictures. And that was actually a question that just came in from David, actually, which I think you just answered. Essentially, he was asking how do you interact with her subjects, and I think you've just answered that really. So David, rather, you caught that little discussion perfectly. Like these two gentlemen here, they look very powerful, confident, and so on. And you'd almost think you might have told them to put your hands behind your back or put your hand here or whatever. But it sounds like that's something you just captured.
Yeah, I
Mm.
was literally moving around the room. I think they had just finished um, putting their garments on.
Right,
And so they were like sitting and trying to position themselves for the actual photograph. This was a picture that I took of a picture that was being done. And so they
right.
were getting in position, and I just pulled my camera up and just took a quick picture and
Very
then
nice.
went on my way.
Same for this one as well. It's yeah, definitely a great capture. Um,
Yes.
I was going to find, let me just scroll to the end because I took some pictures, or sorry, pulled out some of your pictures from, um, I guess, the more observational side of things. So,
Hmm.
this story, was this one of your early pictures where this man intrigued you with the bags and you stalked him through the streets
Yes.
of New York?
I love this photograph so much.
Yeah.
So this was one of my visits to New York before I actually moved here.
Hmm.
And I was in Chinatown with a friend, and I followed this gentleman for a while. So this was like the beginning. Well, no, this wasn't the beginning. I actually caught him from like across the street,
Right.
and I just started like kind of walking behind him for some moments in time, and I took a couple of pictures. So this is probably like the second picture that I took, and then it was like another one where I kind of caught him in the from a different angle where you can still see him, but there's a reflection. It's the reflection of him through the window, like
Hmm.
another woman that's looking out. So yeah, I just used to. It sounds creepy, but I'm like I used to like walk around and just document people because he was interesting to me, and I don't know, yeah.
Yeah. No, it turned out great, and I think it's always a challenge with street photographers, like
Mhm.
how in your face do you get to them really, and at what point are you observing, and then does it become a portrait or whatever? It's really fascinating. But I think I had a couple of others of the more like observational work that was going on as well. I love this one too, and also on
Yeah.
the water park, I guess these boys are at.
This
Yeah,
was actually a fountain.
yeah.
It wasn't a water park. It was like a little mini fountain in DC that the kids were playing in. And I just took some photographs. It was my friend's son's third birthday, and they decided to hop in the fountain and play around. So I was taking pictures of them having a good time.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. This is so geometrical, and you've got triangle, you've got a circle, you've got the boys, you got yeah. It's just so much to look at in that shot, and then also sneaking shots on the subway as well, I guess.
True.
Yeah.
That was something that I did when I first moved to New York. This is
Mm.
the train that I would take to my job every day. And so
Hmm.
every day I did this thing where I would like document people on the train just
Hmm.
out of boredom. So I had this thing that was called Train Chronicles, and I would just like snap pictures of people throughout the day. Sometimes I would get like families on there, and I would take pictures of them throughout the stops, just like observing their interactions with each other. Pretty cool.
Yeah, very much. And on that, David says, David Enfield, I liked her statement that self-portraits are love letters to herself. That's a wonderful attitude. Yeah, maybe we should all take a few more self-portraits to get more comfortable in front of the camera and love oneself. And then finally, I think, yeah, were these the same boys, I guess, playing in the fountain as well? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
so this was the birthday boy and his
Mm,
mother, and so they were just playing around in that same fountain together.
wonderful. And doesn't look like New York to me.
No, this is Miami.
That's much closer. Yeah. What I would expect. Again, are these just pictures for yourself, or was that part of any, campaign or
This
job?
wasn't, no, this was just for myself. I was on a trip with a friend at the time, and you can see her hat at the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we were walking to the beach just to hang out, and I snapped this picture.
Nice. And then we've got this gentleman from the Train Chronicles as well.
Hmm.
Hmm. And then finally, that looks like New York. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
financial district. So even before I started full time, I would do most like photo assisting jobs. And then when
Hmm.
I would have my lunch break, I would walk around uh, where I work and would just take pictures of other New Yorkers just commuting and existing in the space
Hmm.
around me. So yeah, I took this on my lunch break one day.
How's the last 2 years been for you? Obviously, it's been a lot harder to move around, not only internationally for travel and so on, but also in your own cities. Has that been difficult to carry on your photographic work, or have you found ways to navigate around that?
I've definitely found ways to navigate through the changes of the world.
Mm,
Fortunately, with the clients that I've had, a lot of the work that I've been able to do, um, I've been able to work with the people around me. And that was something that they were just like, hey, we don't want you to have to go and do casting for people all over. If
hmm.
you have people that that's great. So that way we can minimize risk. So I've been fortunate enough to be able to work with friends for a lot of the work that I had to do for clients. Um, and a lot of the work, especially in the past couple of years with the campaigns that I've done, have been at home. So yeah, very fortunate for that. Um, I personally have just wanted to, um, the work that I've done has been spaced out, so I haven't had the desire to like want to work a lot.
Right.
So it's been great that when I do have the work, that it's in the comforts of my home.
Yeah. Yeah. That's super nice that you can do that. And look into the future. What's happening for you in 2022? Anything exciting coming up?
I'm just here for the ride. I don't have anything in particular planned ahead. Um, Wherever I need to be, that's where I'm going to be. And I'm, I'm excited for the future and whatever I have coming my way.
Hmm.
Um, I probably work on some personal projects more so than client work, but we'll
Hmm.
see.
Is the personal projects? Are you doing anything else other than the self portraiture, or is that something that you'll always continue to do?
Yes, so self-portraiture is an ongoing, like that's going to always be something that goes on for myself. But as far as like the personal projects that I have in mind, um, it will be a combination of that as well as um, different projects with other artists.
Hmm.
And I'm also going to be sticking my toes in the filmmaking world.
Oh,
So,
really? Interesting.
yes.
Yeah. So is that something you want to do commercially as well, or see what happens?
Yeah, I have done some commercial work already with film. I don't, it's kind of like a mix of the two. But I do hope to delve more into that in the future.
Nice. And any ambitions for your dream client that you've yet to snag? Do you think? Is there anyone on your list who you'd love to work for?
Um, not not specifically like being put on the spot.
Yeah, yeah. I know that was a question we hadn't spoke about, and I just meanly
Yeah.
threw that one out there. But I thought, is there someone who you
I
think, "Oh, I'd
mean,
love to shoot for them?"
I I don't really I've definitely have thought about that, and I probably have a list of things, and nothing is coming to mind now. But for me, I think what's most important is just being able to work with whomever is going to allow me to be my best self, which is me creating what
Yeah,
I'm already doing. Um, and so I hope whoever that I could connect with, that they are reaching out to me for my skill set and the style of shooting that I do, as opposed to like, we want to work with you, but we want you to shoot like this,
right.
you know. So
So
that's all I hope
have you turned down clients who've tried to push you away from the kind of work that you want to do?
I thankfully have not encountered that.
Because
I'm like,
they're coming to you because they know what you output, and obviously that rings true to them, I suppose.
yes,
Hmm.
I feel like majority of the jobs that I have been presented with, um, I've been fortunate enough where the clients are coming to me because of my work and they want that look.
Yeah.
Um, so I haven't had the um, opportunity to have someone present me with something and I'm like, no. But
No.
if that was to come, I would be like, I'm not doing
Yeah.
it.
Okay, last couple of comments and questions, and we'll let you get back to your day. So, how do you cope when someone is completely failing in front of the lens? I guess that's the subject who doesn't want to be photographed. Have you had that happen? Is there, any advice you can give someone to break in the ice? I guess.
Um, have I had? I'm like the only time that I can think of where I had like a whole meltdown was with a child.
Never work with children and animals.
And
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
unpredictable. So, I don't know. I am a patient individual.
Right.
So if I see that someone is having a hard time, which usually doesn't happen a lot, I do have people that are, um, feel a little bit awkward having the focus on them.
Hmm.
And so most of the times with that, it's like, I play some music. I ask them, hey, what have you been listening to lately? Or, um, I'll play something that I enjoy if they don't come up with anything. It's usually jazz music
Right.
or one of the playlists. And, we'll just listen to the music. I feel like music helps.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, and then just being personable, um, engaging people with conversation, um, and just taking your time. Because
Hmm.
I've had people that they clam up at the beginning, and then as time progresses, sometimes I'm like, all right, let's get the wiggles out and just like let's shake it out and try it again. And I've had people that um as the time progresses, they're like, oh, this I can okay. I'll show them images so they can see what they're looking like. And I think once they see what it is that I'm documenting, they feel more comfortable. But yeah, the only times I've had like full out meltdowns was with kids, and most of the time it's just like, okay, you done? Okay, well we're finished.
We're finished. Come back tomorrow. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, last comment from Reginald. Reginald Cunningham. He says, "Would love to work with you, Poochie. I've been wanted to for a while." So you've got a fan in Reginald there. John
Let's
says,
do it.
he said, there you go, Reginald, you're in. Love the picture of the man sitting alone on the subway. That's from John. Reginald, again, forever a fan of your work as well. Lisa Jonay, Poochie, my favorite eye. So, yeah, lots
This
of.
is her on the screen.
Yeah. Oh, really? There we go.
Yeah.
I,
Hey Lisa.
there we go. No, it's a great shot. So, where can people find you? I think we've got your. I'm just going to put this screen up. So Poochie Collins on Instagram, and
Yeah,
it's
you can find me on the internet somewhere when I
somewhere.
am there.
Yeah,
But it's
excellent.
Poochie Collins all over the internet, so you can find me on Twitter, Instagram,
I don't
all
think
this.
there's too many Poochies around. I guess.
No.
No, is that a nickname which you've picked up over the years, or?
Yes, so
Yeah.
Poochie was given to me by my grandfather. My grandfather that actually gifted me the camera
Nice.
is named me for Poochie, so yeah.
Perfect. Well, great. I'd say there's not many others around on the internet as far as I know, so should be easy to find. So, well, thanks for joining me this evening, Poochie. I really loved the conversation and looking at your photographs as well. And I hope people check you out on Instagram and on your website as well and reach out to you, of course, if they want to work for you. So Joshua says, Poochie, you're amazing. I love you. I love you. I love your spirit. So there we go.
Thank you.
So thanks again. And thanks for everyone joining us a bit later in the day over here in Europe. And for the very keen person who got up at 6:30 a.m. in Australia to listen as well. So that was to Dietrich. So thanks again. Cheers, Poochie. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for
Thank you for
joining us.
having me.
Anytime. Take care. Bye
Bye.
now.